Thank you, Madam President. And you bring up a very good point. But I also want to pose the question that last year is significantly different than today, as we have been confronted with the fact that there is potentially a 15% tuition increase on our students today that did not exist last year. We have the challenges of a fiscal budget crisis that we are going to have very difficult decisions to be made. And my challenge again is going back, as the good advocate has said, there is no differentiation. And that ultimately is my frustration with this. I know we spoke a little earlier in the circle and talking about voting, early voting. And I think that is what we said earlier as one of the greatest privileges of being a U.S. citizen. I also think, secondly in importance, is the access to education. It is the greatness of our country. But one of the challenges I have is, as an immigrant, and having parents struggle through to get the American citizenship, I was always taught part of citizenship is the privilege and the responsibility and ultimately the merits of being an American. And that is one of the challenges I have in this, is the fact that I've even had this conversation with my daughter, who's a senior in college. She advocated. She says, I know so many wonderfully talented people who, not due to any fault of their own, that their parents came to this country, have struggled through the process to try to pursue the American dream. I understand that. But one of the challenges I had with her was the fact, how do you separate out the difference between what people generations before have struggled so hard to earn the right to be naturalized, to earn the right to be called an American, to earn the right to vote, to earn the incredible rights and privileges that they have? How do you not differentiate between what these people have tried to accomplish by following the rules, by following the laws of the land, to be an American citizen? So when we talk about that, we don't separate that. We don't differentiate between that. And that we say the rights and privileges that you have to be an American citizen. I just recently attended a naturalization ceremony. It was impactful, it was powerful, but most important of all, it was a tremendous source of pride for every one of those naturalized citizens. Because to them, being an American citizen meant something. It meant the incredible privileges of being in the greatest country in the world. But what I'm just hearing in this bill, however challenging, however you want to be greater, it really says to those people that work so hard, that for every American citizen in this country that proudly wear being an American, that in education, it really doesn't matter to you anymore. That anyone, compared to an American, is equal in this system. That is a real struggle that I have. 3+ years ago, we had the entire discussion about in-state tuition. I struggled then, and it remains to this day. 3 years later, I've said, I am for us as a legislative body to evaluate a quicker pathway to allow people to get to citizenship, because ultimately, that is the validation of a pursuit of the American dream. For us now to say, look, if you want to apply to a Connecticut public school, there's no difference. There is no difference. And I would offer to say that if an American went to a English or a foreign country, I don't know how they would proceed and say, as an American, that you would be treated differently. Look, we treat out-of-state residents differently in this state. You go to Virginia, you apply to University of Virginia, they treat you as a Connecticut resident differently. What we have done in this bill is to treat the value of an American citizenship with less credence than we say from somebody from Massachusetts and New York. There is a real challenge. And what you said earlier, through you, Madam President, is the fact that this is different than last year. How can we say to Connecticut residents and American citizens that we have just raised your tuition 15%? And at the end of the day, we're going to give financial aid and give access without any consideration for you being a Connecticut resident. I struggle with that. I struggled that with my daughter. We had a very interesting chat. And I said, at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to represent all of the Connecticut residents. And understanding, to me, to this day still, the value and the privilege of being an American citizen is something that I will never, ever take for granted. So for that reason, I have challenges with this. I look forward to being able to work with your great committee on this issue, and I look for pathways to allow these very talented people to pursue the American dream, but not at the expense of Connecticut residents and American citizens that have worked so hard to do it the right way. Through you, Madam President.
Will you remark for the Senator Martin?